When wealth crumbles and power slips away, what remains is the raw truth of love, sacrifice, and family. Quang, once a celebrated CEO, now sits at a humble dinner table, his company gone, debts surrounding him, his pride shattered. Yet beside him is Linda, who refuses to leave, and his mother, who quietly places in his hands a lifetime of savings to help him rise again. Their unconditional faith sparks Quang's vow to rebuild everything, not for glory, but for love. Subscribe now and follow this emotional journey of downfall, redemption, and the power of family. The faint clinking of chopsticks against porcelain echoed in the small dining room, a sound so ordinary yet so precious to Quang in that fragile moment of his life. Once, not long ago, his dinners had been lavish affairs, grand halls lit with chandeliers, tables overflowing with delicacies, champagne glasses raised by partners and subordinates eager to please their powerful CEO. But all of that was gone now. The company he had built with ambition and pride had crumbled before his very eyes. Years of relentless effort had turned to dust, leaving behind a mountain of debts and the bitter taste of betrayal. Stripped of his wealth, his position, and the aura of success that once defined him, Quang returned home, not as a triumphant leader, but as a son seeking warmth, and as a man quietly carrying shame. Yet, as he sat at the small wooden table, the aroma of the evening meal rising gently into the air, something stirred deep within him. Linda sat across from him, her face lit not by luxury, but by the soft glow of the hanging lamp. She moved with calm grace, gently picking up vegetables with her chopsticks and placing them into his bowl. Her touch was light, but the gesture carried a weight stronger than words, an unwavering reminder that she had not left him, not even when the world turned its back. Her eyes, warm and steady, were filled not with pity, but with the quiet, steadfast love that pierced through the layers of his despair. Beside them, his mother sat, her hair streaked with silver, her hands weathered from years of sacrifice. She looked at her son not with disappointment, but with tenderness, as though she could see past the ruin of his present and glimpse the boy she once held in her arms. The food on the table was simple: steamed rice, stir-fried vegetables, a small plate of braised fish, but to Quang, it felt richer than the finest feast. It wasn't the taste that mattered, it was the presence of these two women, the only anchors in his life when everything else had drifted away. For a moment, Quang felt his chest tighten. He glanced at Linda, then at his mother, and shame washed over him like a tidal wave. He had promised them the world, vowed to give them a life untouched by worry. Yet here they were, gathering around a modest meal in a dimly lit room, consoling him when he should have been the one to protect them. The silence between bites was not heavy, though. It was gentle, soothing, as if the three of them understood without speaking that love did not vanish with fortune, nor did respect disappear with failure. Quang picked up his ball with trembling hands, his throat tightening as he forced himself to eat. Every grain of rice felt like both a reminder of what he had lost and a promise of what he still had. His mind flickered with memories of extravagant nights, of contracts signed under golden lights, of voices that once praised him but now no longer answered his calls. All of it seemed so distant, so shallow compared to this quiet, imperfect, yet profoundly real moment. The warmth of the food seeped into his body, but it was the warmth of Linda's gaze and his mother's presence that truly filled the hollow spaces inside him. For a moment, Quang felt his chest tighten. He glanced at Linda, then at his mother, and shame washed over him like a tidal wave. He had promised them the world, vowed to give them a life untouched by worry, yet here they were, gathering around a modest meal in a dimly lit room, consoling him when he should have been the one to protect them. The silence between bites was not heavy, though. It was gentle, soothing, as if the three of them understood without speaking that love did not vanish with fortune, nor did respect disappear with failure. Quang picked up his bowl with trembling hands, his throat tightening as he forced himself to eat. Every grain of rice felt like both a reminder of what he had lost and a promise of what he still had. His mind flickered with memories of extravagant nights, of contracts signed under golden lights, of voices that once praised him but now no longer answered his calls. All of it seemed so distant, so shallow compared to this quiet, imperfect, yet profoundly real moment. The warmth of the food seeped into his body, but it was the warmth of Linda's gaze and his mother's presence that truly filled the hollow spaces inside him. For the first time since his downfall, he felt a fragile sense of peace. The world outside might brand him a failure, but here, in this modest home, at this simple table, he was still a son, still a man loved without condition. And though his heart ached with regret, it also flickered with the first spark of hope. A hope born not from wealth, but from the strength of family and love that refused to abandon him. The quiet rhythm of the meal carried on, each of them lost in thought, until Quang lowered his chopsticks and let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His shoulders sagged under the invisible weight of failure, and for a fleeting moment, he thought of giving up entirely. What future could he possibly carve from the ruins of his past? What strength did he have left when all he saw in the mirror was a man defeated? It was then that his mother moved. Slowly, almost hesitantly, she reached beneath her chair and pulled out a small envelope. Worn at the edges, its paper softened from years of being held and hidden away. She slid it across the table toward him, her eyes steady, her expression unreadable yet warm. "Quang," she said gently, her voice carrying both fragility and unshakable strength. "Take this. It is time." Quang frowned, confused. With trembling fingers, he opened the envelope and found a modest-looking bank card tucked inside. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable, nothing more than a plastic rectangle. But as he looked back up at his mother, he noticed the way her gaze lingered, filled with a quiet resolve. "This," she continued, "is everything I have saved over my lifetime. Every small sacrifice, every day I went without so you could have more, every penny I managed to keep aside. It's all in there. I was waiting for the day you might need it." Shock froze him in place. His hands trembled as though the card weighed heavier than steel. He wanted to protest, to push it back across the table. His lips parted, but no sound came. The realization of what she was offering, what it cost her, hit him with a force greater than any financial ruin ever had. This wasn't just money. It was decades of quiet endurance, her life's work distilled into one gesture of unconditional faith. "Mother," his voice cracked, raw and strained. I can't take this. You've worked so hard. You've given me everything already. I don't deserve..." She shook her head before he could finish, her silver hair catching the dim light. "Listen to me, my son. Money means nothing if it cannot protect or rebuild the lives of the people I love. I don't need wealth. I don't need comfort. All I need is to see you stand again, to see you believe in yourself once more. If this helps you start over, then every sacrifice was worth it." Quang stared down at the card, his vision blurring as tears welled in his eyes. The numbers stored within it, though not vast compared to the empires he once controlled, were significant. More importantly, they represented the faith of a mother who had never abandoned him, not when he stumbled as a child, not when he failed as a man. Linda, who had been silent until now, reached across the table and gently laid her hand over his. "She's right," she whispered, her voice soft but steady. "You are not alone, Quang. Not then, not now, not ever. We believe in you, even when you can't believe in yourself." His chest heaved as the weight of emotion broke through his defenses. He clutched the card tightly, pressing it to his forehead as if it were a sacred relic. His body shook, and the tears finally spilled, falling freely onto the table. In that fragile silence, broken only by his muffled sobs, Quang realized something he had forgotten in the pursuit of wealth and power, that true riches were not measured in balance sheets or towering offices, but in love, the unwavering kind that came from a mother and a woman who refused to abandon him. At that table, with a simple card in his hands, Quang felt the stirrings of something he thought he had lost forever: the courage to begin again. Quang's tears came freely now, not of shame alone, but of release, of a burden lifted that he had carried too long in silence. He rose from his chair and moved to his mother's side, collapsing to his knees as though the strength in his legs had deserted him. With trembling arms, he embraced her, pressing his face against her frail shoulder. She smelled faintly of jasmine soap and home-cooked meals, scents he had taken for granted in his years of glory, scents that now grounded him in a way money never had. His sobs shook them both, but his mother only wrapped her arms around him, steady as the roots of an ancient tree weathering every storm. "Forgive me, Mother," he choked between gasps. "For everything, for failing, for making you worry, for not being the son you deserved." Her hand moved slowly over his back, soothing, forgiving without needing to say the words. "There is nothing to forgive, my son," she whispered, her voice quivering with both fragility and strength. "Life will rise and fall. What matters is that you still have the courage to stand. That is enough for me." Linda, watching from across the table, felt her own eyes glisten. She rose and came closer, kneeling beside Quang. Without hesitation, she slipped her hand onto his shoulder, grounding him with her touch. "You don't have to carry this alone anymore," she murmured, her words wrapping around him like a balm. "I chose to be with you for the man you are, not the title you once held. As long as you're willing to fight, I'll fight with you." The room fell into silence except for the sound of Quang's breathing as he struggled to steady himself. He pulled back slightly, his eyes red, his face streaked with tears, yet there was a glimmer in his gaze that hadn't been there before. For the first time since his downfall, his eyes did not reflect defeat, but the fragile beginnings of determination. He looked at the bank card still clenched in his hand. It wasn't just a lifeline, it was a symbol, a covenant of love and sacrifice. In it was his mother's faith, Linda's loyalty, and his own last chance at redemption. He pressed the card to his chest, as if by doing so he could absorb its meaning into his very soul. "I promise," he said at last, his voice low but firm, resonating with new resolution. He turned first to his mother, then to Linda. "I will not waste this gift. I will rebuild, not just for myself, but for both of you, for the life we deserve together. I will rise again, stronger, wiser, and I swear on everything I have left, I will give you both the happiness I once promised." Her mother's eyes shone with quiet pride, a single tear slipping down her cheek. Linda's lips curved into a small, trembling smile, her hand tightening on his shoulder as though to anchor his vow. In that dimly lit dining room, there were no fine suits, no glittering trophies of success, no crowd of admirers. There was only a broken man, his mother, and the woman who loved him. And yet, somehow, it was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The fire of ambition that once drove Quang had been fueled by pride and the hunger for recognition. But now, as he sat back at the table, wiping the tears from his face, he felt a different kind of fire ignite within him. A fire born of gratitude, love, and the unyielding desire to protect those who had stood by him when the world abandoned him. He straightened his back, no longer crushed beneath the weight of failure, but lifted by the promise of renewal. The path ahead would be long, riddled with obstacles, but Quang knew with certainty that he would walk it. Not alone, not anymore. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to smile, small but sincere. Around that humble table, with the warmth of family and the steadfastness of love, Quang found the courage to dream again.
Hello, hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tử Ninda Review. Rất vui vì ngày hôm nay lại được gặp lại các bạn trong tập phim ngày hôm nay. Trong tập phim ngày hôm nay thì Quang đã được mẹ đưa cho một số tiền khá là lớn để anh gây dựng lại sự nghiệp. Liệu rằng số tiền này có giúp anh vực lại sự nghiệp hay không? Hay anh vẫn cứ mãi chìm ngập trong nợ nần? Tất cả mọi người đều hy vọng Quang sẽ khởi nghiệp lại thành công để mang lại cuộc sống tốt đẹp hơn cho mẹ và Linda. Liệu mong muốn đó của mọi người có thành hiện thực hay không? Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ vào các tập tiếp theo. Các bạn hãy bấm vào nút đăng ký kênh để nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng vào lúc 8 giờ sáng giờ Việt Nam hàng ngày trên kênh Lý Tử Ninda Review nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều đã luôn theo dõi và ủng hộ kênh của mình. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn vào sáng ngày mai. Bye bye.